Good evening, everyone. Today is Wednesday, March 9th, and obviously the day after Tuesday, March 8th, which is a very eventful day. And I have read a lot of nice comments regarding the Regent run, and quite honestly, I'll talk about it. This is my first off the cuff that is not truly an off the cuff, because it's the way I want to say thank you and let you know that what you all did was incredible. So the reason this is not a true off the cuff and I have something prepared is because it is for all of you that stood by me, hand in hand and arm, fighting together. So you deserve more from me than just a typical off the cuff. And for those of you watching this who didn't support me, stick around, because I think you'll want to be part of this extraordinary group of people that I'm going to spend much of this time talking about, because these are the kind of people that you want in your life. I have been experiencing a lot of overwhelming emotion last night and throughout today, because your comments and your love and support has been washed over me in waves of warmth and compassion that are healing and rejuvenating. And I cannot thank you enough. So I'll try to express some appreciation tonight. I have some things that I need to say to you, and I feel they must be said to all of you, so you understand that the love and support you have shown me is reciprocated. So I'm going to address a couple things. I'm going to talk about how I ended up on the assembly floor. I'm going to address NYSUT just very briefly, and but the majority of this is about all of you, as it always has been. First, how I ended up on the floor during the Regent vote was not a planned thing. I was in Albany doing legislative work in the morning with a group of educators from all across the state. And I got to tell you, listening to that group speak, I'm here to tell you that they were all fighting for our schools and our children. And it was an honor to be among them. After my group met with Assemblyman Will Barkley, he asked that I attend the process in person, as he was going to be the one nominating me as a name to possibly go against the other candidate for the 5th Judicial. And then that Claudia Tenney would be seconding that nomination. And I thank them both for doing so and speaking so highly of me on the assembly floor. But at the end, I'm going to come back to a very important point about the opt-out movement that came out of every legislative conversation I was involved in that morning. I want to discuss the new regent appointments very briefly. We have one that is a known supporter of the opt-out. We have one who reportedly supports Common Core and opposes the opt-out. And we have one that, to the best of my knowledge, thinks it's an implementation issue and was clearly backed by a Cuomo supporter in the Assembly. But in that one, I find hope, hopefully in what is in her heart, and I will be there if and when she asks me for information or assistance. Regarding NYSUT, while I and others, to the best of my knowledge, never sought your endorsement, it is also, to the best of my knowledge, the leadership never reached out to anyone to even say thank you. And in my opinion, NYSUT leadership should have at least sent some sort of communication recognizing those of us from the teaching profession that were willing to take the battle to the arena, and not even doing that much via a phone call or an email. In my eyes, the NYSUT leadership may be a little too far removed from the membership to be as effective as they could be. So now, I want to talk about you. All of you from across the state who supported this gray-bearded old man on an incredible journey. So as I sat in the assembly, knowing full well that there would be no last-minute heroics in which some would buck the system. As I sat there, full well knowing what the preordained outcome would be, that our defeat was imminent, I consoled myself with two very important things. First, I was never in that arena alone. In the arena alone, sorry. All of you were with me. Every single one of you. Second, I knew that by pushing the assembly to the brink, that we would win many victories. And we have. Many of you have been very active as advocates for our children. And the way you even stepped up it, even more so, was absolutely incredible. Many others of you, and I know this to be true because I've spoken to some, became truly engaged in a political process for the first time ever. And the way you threw yourself into the mix was amazing. And all of you together became a force that had to be reckoned with. And you together will remain one. And my faith in you tells this to my heart, and I know it to be true. You all came together. People from across the political spectrum. Men, women, young, old, different ethnicities, different spiritual beliefs, urban, suburban, rural. Together, you put an active teacher on the floor of the assembly to be seriously considered for the first time ever. You helped push the door open for the next one. Making history is a long process, but in this case, all of you have expedited it. You put a guy in the arena who had no Democrat political backing in the area he lives in and marshaled support for me from everywhere. You sent literally thousands of emails and made countless phone calls, numbering in the hundreds and hundreds. And while you may not believe it, you were not ignored because you made it so you could not be ignored. And every time you were called to send another email or to make another phone call, by God, every one of you did. You made so many calls that on the Thursday afternoon of the week prior to the vote, to Speaker Heastie's office, one of his aides actually said to a caller that they needed to set up a John Sheffield hotline because of the avalanche of calls coming in all day long. That phone in Heastie's office rang off the hook. Maybe it needs to ring off the hook again. You helped get a person into the arena who has been very openly against Cuomo's policies, against Common Core, against educational injustice and inequity, and against politics as usual. You did that. You made it possible for a vote-off to occur, and in doing so, forced all those who voted to show what was important to them in a very public way due to live streaming and now archival footage. As a matter of fact, the streaming issues that some of you may have noticed were actually due to the large amount of people tuned in live to that process. And that is you. To quote my friend Peg Sherman, "It's funny how fear tends to rule. You scared them, John. Honesty, transparency, and compassion are apparently freaking scary as hell." But I have to correct her on one point. Standing alone, I did not and could not ever scare them. But standing together, we scared them. And that was you. You forced true colors to be shown. You dragged the beast that is the process out into the open and into the light, where it was seen, and where it will be slain. You helped educate an entire state about a broken and corrupt process. You are amazing and inspiring, and I am honored to be associated with all of you. People ask me, are you proud of yourself? I said, no. Pride really doesn't enter into it, and I hope it never does, because I saw what too much pride, I think, and arrogance does. I saw that firsthand on Tuesday. But there is one thing I am proud of. I am so very proud of all of you. You motivate me. You pick me up. You energize me. You are role models for me. You embody all that is good in the human spirit. You inspire me. Your Herculean effort. Inspirational isn't even a good enough word for it. The only way that what happened Tuesday, March 8th, fades is if we let it. But speaking for myself, I ain't going nowhere. The ones who are supposed to represent us may find that they would have been better off allowing us into the room instead of continuing to keep us out. So where do we go from here? I think it's important that you demand an answer and do not settle a form letter from those whose votes you have a question about. They are accountable to you. Hold them accountable. It is not only our right to do so, but it is indeed our obligation to hold them accountable, because for too long they have not been held accountable. I will be reaching out and thanking all of those who listen to you, and I hope you will take the time to do the same. Now, I want to go back to the legislative meetings that I had in the morning. Every legislator I spoke to Tuesday morning, I made a point of asking if the opt-out was indeed a tool that works to move the needle in the direction we wanted to go. And every one of them I asked said that is the one thing that appears to move the needle. That is the thing that made Cuomo back off on his rhetoric, but he still hasn't really backed off on his actions. So I think that tool needs to be brought to bear yet again. It is obvious to me that New York parents must be the leaders in education now, because it is painfully clear that neither New York State Education Department or the majority of the Assembly is prepared to do so. Opt out. To the teachers out there, please become more involved and more informed. You have all the facts and details by now. Make the right decision and stand by our parents. I want to leave you all with something that was shared with me by a coworker this morning. It's from Citizen in a Republic, and it's the title of a speech that was given by former President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt, and given in Paris, France on April 23rd, 1910. One notable passage is referred to as the man in the arena, and I have taken the liberty of minor editorial license. So here it is. It is not the critic who counts, not the person who points out how a strong person stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if they fail, at least fails while daring greatly, so that their place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. You, all of you, were in the arena, and you are in the arena. You did not stay on the sidelines timidly. You have all shown the courage, skill, and tenacity needed to be in the arena. So together we stand in the arena, more powerful than ever. So continue to opt in to the arena by opting out of the tests. Apparently last year was not loud enough. This year, I think 500,000 might send a message that will not only echo across the state and into the halls of our legislature, but can be a beacon to all the other states to look to and be inspired, as all of you inspire me. Thank you for supporting me in this journey. It is a debt I can never repay. But I promise you I will stand and fight with you any day and every day for as long as it takes. I love you all. Good night. John.